Many people have been told that this style of knitting is wrong. It's limited. It's not. In fact, it is the only reason why many people can even knit at all. After I released a video on this combination continental style, I got a lot of messages from knitters who switched to this style, this particular style, because their hands couldn't handle any other style anymore. And suddenly, knitting became comfortable again. You see, this is not a medical podcast, it's a knitting podcast. And we're not going to dive too deep into medical issues, but instead, I'm here to give you more information on that combination continental Eastern grandma style, because there's a huge demand. I see this style as easy and efficient. It makes a lot of sense. I knit my entire wardrobe using this style, and yes, it's absolutely possible. And in this video, I will show you how this style actually works. I will explain not only knit and purl stitches, but also main elements that help you to create your own wardrobe, your own nice sweaters, and some elements I will translate from classical continental to combination continental style. And just let me remind you about the knit stitch and the purl stitch. Well, the main idea of this style is to relax and use as less muscle effort as possible and as less brain effort as possible, because the stitches will tell you what to do anyway. So this is how we create that knit stitch. So just go through the back loop, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and your stitch is done. Now, what about the purl stitch? This is the easiest way of purling I've ever seen in my life. So you basically just look at the stitches and see, okay, what's the most intuitive, what's the most efficient way of creating that purl stitch? I don't want to make any effort. I don't want any effort involved here. So you have this yarn closer to you as a knitter and just pull it through the stitch. But what about the classical stitches? These are the classical stitches. So I go through the front loop, knitting, and this is the classical purling, just like this. So you see from the hand movement, it requires a little bit more effort. So classical continental purling is a little bit more tricky. That's why many people, especially beginners, try to avoid purling. See, I'm not saying that classical continental purling is wrong. I'm just giving you an alternative. Let's stop right here and take a small step back. Do you need to use some special way of casting on? No, you don't. What cast on techniques can you use for this method? Any. What I do here, I just cast on the way I like. It doesn't really matter for this technique. Pretty much all cast ons work. What matters here is the first row. So let's talk about this first row. So if we talk about the stockinette stitch, I should have knit the first row. So I knit just the way I knit for this style. But if we are being picky, you see that they are kind of twisted because this leg is obviously stands in front. So what I would do instead here, for stockinette stitch, for this combination continental style, I would just purl the first row instead of knitting. So these are my purl stitches, and I would just purl. I would start my stockinette stitch from purl row. What about the rest of the rows? I just knit through the back loop as I always knit for this style, and purl through the front loop as I always do for this grandma style. And that's basically it. Before I move on, let me thank a recent supporter of this channel. I think the right way to pronounce the name is Mila. And thank all of you guys who supported this channel on Buy Me a Coffee. All right, on to the next element. What if the pattern suggests you to knit through the back loop? Let's say your pattern is written classical way and it says knit through the back loop. But wait, here we already knit through the back loop. So if I'm using that classical pattern, should I knit
through the back loop and just leave it as it is? Well, no. Let's take a look at our classical stitches. In classical knitting, we have this leg standing in front. So we knit through the front loop. This is the way it's done in classical continental way of knitting. And if a pattern wants you to knit through the back loop, let's see what we get. We knit through the back loop. What's the difference? We get a twisted stitches. See? These are non-twisted, 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 and this one is twisted. How do you know? If you stretch it a little bit, you see that this leg kind of stands in front. So this is how this twist is created. So once again, if I go through the back loop on classical stitches, I get a twisted stitch. So if a pattern wants me to knit through the back loop, what do they actually want from me? They want a twisted stitch. In combination continental, if I want a twisted stitch, I would go through the front loop, just like this.
Yarn over is the next element. So everyone knows that yarn over is when you have your yarn over your needle, but people get confused. Do I scoop it? Do I grab it like this way, this way? When you understand the rule, the answer is very simple. The rule is to create a stitch similar to the one that you have on your right needle. Let's analyze this stitch. This leg in front, now it's the right leg standing in front. I have to repeat this stitch orientation using the yarn over technique. And when you take a look at these stitches, see how similar these stitches are? Right leg here, right leg here, right leg here. So the basic rule here is to repeat the orientation of the actual stitches on the right needle when the stitch is done. Are there any other ways to yarn over for this style? Of course, and those will be explained on this channel a little bit later. And right now, let's move on to the next elements, which are knit two together and slip slip knit. Before I explain the next element on grandma stitches, let's take a look at the classical continental stitches. Let's start with the knit two together. If we knit two together on classical stitches, we basically go through that front loop and we knit two stitches together. The first decrease, and let's do the slip slip knit. So the slip slip knit goes like this. We slip, slip, and knit. In order to understand what we should do on grandma stitches instead of slip slip knit or knit two together, we need to understand what result that element gives us. Look at the knit two together. It's obviously, you see this stitch obviously leans to the right. This stitch is obviously leans to the left. So we've got a decrease leaning to the right and decrease leaning to the left. Now, how do you know which one is left, which one is right? How do you read these stitches? You should know the basic rule. A chart is always going on from bottom to top and from right to left. So this one, we read the stitches from bottom to top. It goes to the right. And we're reading from bottom to top. This one goes to the left. Understanding the result that an element gives you, you can easily recreate that on grandma stitches. Now back to the grandma stitches. Let's see what happens if we knit two together the grandma way through the back loop. This first element, and let's mirror the second element. So let's slip slip and knit them together through the front loop. You see, you've got the same result but the different way. So when you knit two together, you have your stitch leaning to the left. When you slip knit, your stitch, this stitch, hides the previous one and it leans to the right. So this one to the left and this one to the right. So this is the knit two together the grandma way, and this is slip knit the grandma way. But let's compare. This one was knit two together on classical stitches and it leans to the right. This one we just knit two together and it leans to the left, right the opposite way. This one was slip knit on the classical stitches. It leans to the left. And this one is slip knit on grandma stitches. And it leans to the right. So, if you are using a classical pattern, trying to translate it into grandma stitches, you need to understand what result does the element give you. And do not translate patterns, translate stitches. What does that knit two together create on your fabric? So depending on what way the stitches lean, then you need to recreate that lean, that side on your grandma stitches. Is there a deeper theoretical video on this element? Of course there is. The link in the description box. And on to the next element. And here we will focus also on the result. For example, make a stitch. What is the result? What does the pattern want from us? If the result is an increase, we need more fabric. More stitches means more fabric. Then let's take a look at this element from this perspective. Increases are the most creative elements because there are so many ways to increase, both classical way and grandma way. And before I even start, I have a long video explaining very deeply the increase theory, when they lean right, when they lean left, and please watch that. And since I would like to keep this video short, I will just show you one of the increases, one of many that you can use on stocking and stitch. So let's say I'm just knitting until the point where I need an increase, and let's create an increase from this bar. So this is just a bar between two stitches. It's not done. So we need to see how it looks, how it's oriented on the left needle. Remember previously when we were talking about the yarn overs, we talked about the right needle, but see, this element starts from the left needle, so we need to analyze which way the bar sits on the left needle. Why on left needle? It's not done yet. If it was done, we would analyze the right needle, and since it's not done on the left needle. So let's pick up this bar, and the theory says, okay, let's pick it up the way the other stitches are oriented on the left needle. But if I just knit it, I have this hole. I mean, there are many designs where you want that hole, both increase, both creating a stitch and a hole. But what if you don't want? Okay, let's analyze. If you just pick up the bar and if you just knit it through the back loop, you get this hole. Then if you want to get rid of this hole, go ahead and knit through the front loop, and that's it. You will not get that hole. See, no holes. The other way you can make a stitch is like you can turn this bar this way. It leans the opposite way in comparing with this bar. Either go like this and repeat these stitches orientation, or you can go like this. And in this case, you just go through that back loop. Why would you need it? Again, for symmetry. Let's see.
This is my central stitch, and I want to create 2 stitches around this central stitch. So I would go like this, my central stitch, let's say, and I would go like this. Okay, so this symmetry makes sense. This is the central stitch. This one leans to the right, and this leg is in front, so it leans to the left. Again, I have a long video about the increases. Please watch it.
Now, what about knitting in the round? Can you knit in the round the grandma way? The short answer, and it's kind of stereotypical, is no, you have to switch to classical stitches, but in fact there are ways to use those grandma stitches or combination continental stitches, but not every row, every other row. And it's not the only way to use grandma stitches for circle knitting, but you know, it's a little bit too deep. And that's why I created a set of videos on knitting in the round if your main style is combination continental, and of course I will link those in the description box, and I hope those are helpful. That's it for today, and just a reminder, there are no bad or good styles, there are just different styles, and we're different people, and we choose different what's better for us. So if this style makes sense, if you are interested in diving deeper into that combination continental style, please stay. This entire channel is about this style. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in a week.